Boxingego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. Wow, Premier Boxing Champions on Fox announced a monster calendar for the first half of 2019. Stay tuned. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing if you want to become part of the gang. Notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, and Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Wow, a lot to unpack. Fox, they did a press conference, announced upcoming fights. It says, this is an email I got from Premier Boxing Champs. Fox Sports and Premier Boxing Champions announced 8 title fights over the first 3 months. Obviously, Spence Jr. versus Mikey Garcia March 16th is maybe the biggest announcement in terms of anticipation. It says 5 Fox, 4 FS1 PBC fight nights plus the first pay-per-view on Fox. Former champions Lennox Lewis, Ray Boom Boom Mancini, and Eric El Terrible Morales head up Fox Sports, Fox Deportes broadcast teams. Good to see these former fighters get shown some love in that regard and get opportunities to broadcast. It says Fox Sports and Premier Boxing Champs today announced 8 televised world title fights in the first 3 months of the new deal, featuring 8 world champions, more than 24 of the world's best boxers going toe-to-toe. The schedule includes 5 world-class boxing fight nights live on Fox and Fox Deportes, 4 more on FS1 and Fox Deportes, and the first Fox pay-per-view in March, and that's Spence Garcia. We're thrilled to have Premier Boxing Champs, brightest stars coming to Fox Sports, reaching the audiences, bigger audiences on broadcast television, says Mark Silverman, Fox Sports president. The 2019 PBC schedule kicks off with the high stakes, action and excitement, making the Fox the premier home for boxing and the continued leader in live sporting events. And this all kicks off with Jermall Charlo and Jermell Charlo fighting on the same card in December. The Charlo brothers kick everything off. Jermell Charlo versus Willie Monroe Jr. and Jermell Charlo versus Tony Harrison, Saturday, December 22nd on Fox, live from the Barclays Brooklyn Center. That is the first one, and it's at the end of this year. It's a good fight to close off and cap off the year. It's good to see the brothers back on the same card. I remember I covered a fight with Jermall when he fought Austin Trout, and he fought on the same night in the same card as when Jermell fought John Jackson, and those are both tricky fights. And on paper, Willie Monroe's, he's sneaky and kind of slick, and Tony Harrison is a veteran, so I'm anxious to see. Next fight, Jose Uzcategui versus Caleb Plant, Sunday, January 13th on FS1. Live from the Microsoft Theater in LA Live in Los Angeles, IBF super middleweight champion Jose Uzcategui battles undefeated, top-rated challenger Caleb Plant. I'm looking forward to it. I think that's a really good fight. Caleb Plant, that's my dude. Shout out to him. They were supposed to fight this year, but Caleb Plant sustained a hand injury, so it looks like he'll be recovered fully by that point. I know he was really upset when he first got news that, you know, he fractured his hand or whatnot, but everything happens for a reason, and, you know, it just got postponed. So that's a real good fight, January 13th. Jose Uzcategui, very good fighter. He fought Andre Dirrell. The first one ended kind of controversial. It was a good fight. And then Dirrell's uncle jumped in the ring and punched him in the head. And I believe he was disqualified for hitting a downed opponent. The rematch, he beat Dirrell, and he did it by stoppage. He made Dirrell kind of quit on the stool. So that's a good fight. Caleb Plant, slick. Jose Uzcategui is kind of like a brawler, but he can box, kind of like a Diego Chavez at super middleweight type of guy. You know, he's out of Venezuela, 28-2, 23 knockouts. So he can box a bit and he can bang. And Caleb Plant, sweet hands, slick, you know, got a lot of momentum. He's undefeated, 17-0 with 10 knockouts. Great stuff on FS1. Keith Thurman versus Josecito Lopez, Saturday, January 26, 2019. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn on Fox. Undefeated WBA welterweight champion Keith, one-time Thurman, 28-0, undefeated, 22 knockouts. You better not duck me, Thun. Ends a long injury layoff to defend his title and start to reclaim his division against battle-hardened veteran Josecito Lopez, 36-7, 19 knockouts. Also that evening, Adam Kanowski, undefeated, one of the fastest rising stars in the heavyweight division, takes on the toughest challenge to date when he steps up against U.S. Navy veteran and USC football standout Gerald Washington. I like that fight, and I like it being paired with the main event, Keith Thurman versus Josecito Lopez. I think Thurman, he just needs to get back active. There's too much happening in the welterweight division. His side of the street has the best fights available, and he hasn't seen action since Danny Garcia unification. So hopefully the injuries are past him. He says he had the elbow injury, came back, was doing light training and hurt his hand, and he couldn't even spar. So I'm not mad at him fighting Josecito Lopez. Josecito Lopez best win, obviously beating Victor Ortiz in LA, breaking his jaw. That was a monumental win. Then you have Leo Santa Cruz versus Miguel Flores, Saturday, February 16th on Fox in LA. Leo Santa Cruz, he's from LA. It says WBA featherweight champion Leo Santa Cruz, one of the highest volume punchers in the sport, defends his title against the always tough Miguel Flores. Plus, former WBC lightweight champion Omar Figueroa Jr. returns after a long injury layoff to face former title challenger John Molina Jr. I like this fight. I've seen a picture of him recently, Omar Figueroa and John Molina Jr., and surprisingly, Molina was a bit bigger. Molina deserves this. He was supposed to fight Victor Ortiz. He trained for it, and he didn't get a fight. Obviously, through no fault of his own, Victor Ortiz had caught a rape case, and the whole main event went downhill from that and got canceled. So I like to see him in this, get another opportunity with a big fight. I know he's been calling out Omar Figueroa for a while. I don't see how it won't be combustible with the two different styles, and this is being paired with Leo Santa Cruz, who we could hopefully see him fight Gary Russell Jr. or Carl Frampton, a rematch if he beats Josh Warrington, something like that in the future. Also, after that, Anthony Dirrell versus Yildirim. Yildirim fought Chris Eubank Jr. was stopped, so Dirrell's going to fight for a title Saturday, February 23rd on FS1 in Minneapolis. Former WBC super middleweight champion Anthony Dirrell battles once beaten Avni Yildirim, who faces the stiffest competition of his career in the clash for the vacant WBC super middleweight championship. Now, to explain, the reason it's for the vacant belt is because the WBC champion was David Benavidez, the youngest champion in boxing. He fought Ron Gavril, beat Ron Gavril, and then it was a tough fight, so he rematched him, beat him better. But after he was caught training, I think, and they did a VADA test, and he had cocaine in his system, or the components, the compounds that make up cocaine. So he apologized, and he was forced to relinquish his belt. So I believe he's going to get suspended probably 6 to 8 months, and then he should be able to come back to the sport. And I think, for a first-time offender, I think he'll be in line to face the winner of this fight. So big implications for Dirrell or Yildirim, and it's super middleweight, which is, you have Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez fighting Jesse Hart. You have Caleb Smith, who just won the World Boxing Super Series. Caleb Plant's fighting Uzcategui. I'm looking forward to it. Next, you have Shawn Porter versus Yordenis Ugas, Saturday, March 9, 2019 in Las Vegas. Good to see Shawn Porter in his second home, Las Vegas, get a local fight where he's not traveling. He was going to the Barclays to fight tough competition and do eliminators and stuff, and he just beat Danny Garcia, so it's good to see he gets to stay close to where he lives. It says WBC welterweight champion Shawn Porter, 29-2-1, 17 knockouts, makes his first title defense against top-rated mandatory challenger Yordenis Ugas, 23-3 and 11 knockouts, who gets his first world title shot. Now, Ugas is Errol Spence Jr.'s opposition. That's his mandatory, but Errol Spence is on like a big event with Mikey Garcia, so it's good to see Ugas gets an opportunity at a title. Now, this fight was already supposed to happen on the Mayweather-McGregor week, but Shawn Porter pulled out because he had some family emergencies and he was not able to fight. He wasn't in the right frame of mind, I guess, to fight. So it's basically a rescheduled match. Ugas, I believe, went on to fight Thomas Delorme, and I like this fight. First title defense, and it's just most of the welterweights are on Shawn Porter's side of the street. So if he gets past a game guy like Ugas, who just knocked out Ray Robinson, a lot of people don't know this, but Ray Robinson beat Terrence Crawford in the amateurs. I didn't see it, but that's what it is in terms of the record. And Ugas stopped him. So Ugas, I've seen him on several PBC cards. He was next up for Errol Spence. Now, the winner of this fight can possibly fight Errol Spence, Mikey Garcia, or Keith Thurman's coming back. There's just too much action at welterweight, so good to see these guys active. Now, I know a lot of you guys clicked on the video for Errol Spence versus Mikey Garcia, Saturday, March 16, 2019, Fox Sports PBC Pay-Per-View at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Wow. Fighting where the Cowboys play. Now, this venue is not used too much for boxing. Has to be a big event. This was when Pacquiao in his prime or whatnot. He fought Josh Clottey and Antonio Margarito there. You know, so this is a big fight. Spence is from DeSoto, Texas. This is close enough to Dallas. You know, he's gonna have a lot of fans there. There's a lot of Hispanic and there's a big Mexican population. So I know Mikey Garcia's fought in Texas and San Antonio and stuff before, and there's a high Hispanic population. So this is gonna be a big fight. I went to Spence versus Ocampo, and that had a crazy turnout, like 14,000. Much bigger fight, bigger event, pay-per-view event. So I know it's gonna be turned at the Dallas Cowboys AT&T Stadium. Crazy. It says, in one of the most anticipated intriguing matchups in boxing, IBF welterweight champion Errol Spence will defend his title against 4-division world champion and current WBC champion Mikey Garcia, who is moving up 2 weight classes to challenge Spence. He's been asking for this fight, so props to Mikey Garcia. He's getting what he wanted. Really big fight, big implications for, you know, the winner. If Mikey wins, and he's pulling a massive upset in the minds of a lot of people. This would be a la Roberto Duran fighting Sugar Ray Leonard, or Shane Mosley when he moved up 2 weight classes and beat, at that time, Oscar De La Hoya, or even when Pacquiao moved up 2 weight classes and beat De La Hoya. You know, this would be a historic win for Mikey Garcia. If Mikey wins, then, you know, the sky's the limit. Same thing with Errol Spence. Mikey is respected, comes from a fight family. His trainer and brother is a fighter, so he's going to get a lot of credit beating a guy skillful like Mikey, if he can, you know, just beat him into submission or anything. Wow, Spence versus Garcia is actually happening in 2019. Boom. Lamont Peterson versus Sergey Lipinets, Sunday, March 24th, 2009, MGM National Harbor in Maryland. It says, former junior welterweight and welterweight world champion Lamont Peterson clashes with former junior welterweight champion Sergey Lipinets. This is a good fight. It's funny because both of these guys fought the main event for Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence. In January, Lamont Peterson, he faced a guy he knows from the amateurs in Errol Spence, and, you know, he got dominated. And it was an impressive performance by Errol. I haven't seen Lamont Peterson since. Sergey Lipinets had a quasi-competitive fight, but Mikey Garcia was clearly winning, and Mikey Garcia became a champion in a new division. Now Mikey Garcia is trying to become a champion against Errol Spence, which, you know, is a tall order, but he says he sees something. So I like this fight. Lamont Peterson versus Sergey Lipinets. Don't know if it's happening at a catch weight, because I thought Lamont Peterson was having an issue making 140, so he moved up to welterweight. But after the Errol Spence loss, maybe he's reconsidered and traveled back down to 140, or maybe even a catch weight. I'm not quite sure, but this is close to his home in DC, so, you know, it should be a fun fight. Again, this is on FS1, so it's not like it's a pay-per-view or anything. Then you have Caleb Truex versus Peter Quillin, Saturday, April 13th, 2019. And that's going to be on FS1 as well in Minneapolis. Caleb Truex is from Minneapolis. He gave 2 tough fights to James DeGale. I thought he beat James DeGale, to be honest, even in the rematch, but they didn't give it to him. And DeGale ended up vacating his belt, and he's probably going to fight Chris Eubank Jr. It says former super middleweight champion Caleb Truex, 34-2, 19 KOs, meets former middleweight champion Peter Quillin, 34-1-1, 23 knockouts in a battle to determine who climbs back into title contention. I like this fight. Peter Quillin's new to the division. He's had his ups and downs. Obviously, the Daniel Jacob loss. That's my dude. Shout out to P. Quillin. Shout out to Kid Chocolate. Good to see him back active and getting fights. He's going to have to go to Truex's backyard. Not too many fighters from Minneapolis. Not too many people that I know, except for Prince, rest in peace. But Caleb Truex, I thought he upset James DeGale. And then I thought he beat James DeGale even in the second fight. I was at that fight. It was on the Edislandi Lara versus Swift Jared Hurd card. You know, maybe I should rewatch it, but that's what I remember. And I was also at Peter Quillin's last fight. Shout out to my dude. and he fought in New York on the card with Devin Alexander and Andre Berto. You know, and my dude Joey Spencer, Peter Quillin, beat Jay Leon Love on that particular card. So it'll be interesting. I want to see this fight. Should be a good fight, and I don't know who they're going to put on the undercard. And then finally, you have Danny Garcia versus Adrian Granados, Saturday, April 20th, 2019, 8 p.m. on Fox. Former junior welterweight and welterweight champion Danny Garcia, 34-2 with 20 knockouts, wants to rebound from a razor-thin loss in his last bout to take on the battle-tested Adrian Granados. Adrian Granados is always a tough out. You know, he gave Shawn Porter a tough fight, Adrian Broner a tough fight. I was at both of those fights. I'll probably go to this particular one. I don't know the venue because it hasn't announced it in the email, but Danny Garcia fights a lot at the Barclays, and that's the official home of PBC if they put it on the East Coast. I don't know. Maybe they'll put it in Philly. I don't know. I don't know where it's going to happen, but I think this will be a good fight. They had the little meeting, and Granados was sick, so he did a video from satellite feed, and he accused Danny Garcia of talking a lot of shit, and he said he's going to handle business when he fights Danny Garcia. Granados from Chicago, you know, definitely got some tough areas. Danny from Philly. So, you know, this could be a tough fight. Granados doesn't come to lay down. Like I said, he gave Shawn Porter and Broner tough fights. His last fight, I was at Granados' last fight. He fought on the Errol Spence Ocampo card, and it ended weird. Javier Fortuna like got injured, a freak injury, and like flew out the ring and stuff and fell and hit his head. And, you know, it was really weird. So this will be a good fight. Danny Garcia, I went to his last fight too with Shawn Porter, and you know, some people argue that he won. He doesn't believe that he lost to Shawn Porter, but a win over a veteran, especially if he could stop Granados, because I don't think Granados has been stopped. That'll be a big thing for Danny Garcia. For Adrian Granados, if he beats Danny Garcia's only lost to like championship guys, you know, Keith Thurman and Shawn Porter. So if Granados can win over Danny Garcia, big for his career. You know, Al Heyman's killing right now. This is just the Fox side of things. We don't even know about Showtime, and there's already a ton of great fights, competitive fights, good fights, and this is the first half. And I like the structure. Like if you want to travel to one of these fights or book a hotel or make accommodations or save, you can kind of do that because you know who's fighting. You at least know the date to take off from work, and some of these have a location, like Spence versus Mikey Garcia. We know the location and the date, so I'm looking forward to mostly all these fights. I think Al Heyman, he's a silent killer. He doesn't really do too much talking, but he drops the gavel and lets people know he's still there. Fox on PBC, that is the full fight breakdown of Fox Sports and Premier Boxing Champions, a new long-term partnership. And, you know, good luck to all the combatants. I'm good, and I'm glad to see Keith Thurman back. The welterweight picture, a lot of those guys are active, which is good because I want to see some unifications towards the end of the year. But I like this layout where we know what's happening for the first 3, 4, 5 months of the year or whatnot. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hey, comment and subscribe to this video's Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.